You're saying that these kids are washed up?
I need to keep doing what I do. So that would be starting with minis and training them to be a junior elite competition team.
Frustration is coming from the fact that I feel like every single person on this team has given up. Moms, girls, get in.
I will explain the gossip. Never miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel. If there's one thing dance moms never lacked, it was moments. The Abby Lee Dance Company wasn't just a studio. It was a pressure cooker for talent, tension, and total meltdowns. Over the years, Abby Lee Miller's dance company gave us performances that made our jaws drop and drama that kept us glued to our screens. Whether you were tuning in for the choreography, the chaos, or just the unforgettable one-liners, the ALDC served reality TV at its absolute peak. So what exactly makes a moment iconic in Dance Mom's history? It's more than just a trophy. It's the gasp-worthy solos, the brutally honest critiques, the surprise wins, and the walkouts that sparked online outrage. This compilation is a deep dive into the most unforgettable ALDC moments that defined the show, its stars, and an entire fandom. Let's start with the obvious. Maddie Ziegler. Abby's proclaimed golden girl, Maddie was the poster child of perfection at the ALDC. Her very first standout solo, Cry, was a raw and emotional performance that instantly became a fan favorite. The judges were wowed. Abby cried. Even the moms had to admit, this kid was next level. What followed was a steady stream of victories. Maddie delivered powerhouse performances like You Don't Know Me, Angel, and Lights, Camera, Action. Her turns were crisp, her emotion was genuine, and Abby's favoritism was blatant. Melissa tried to play it cool, but we all saw the extra privates, the behind-the-scenes coaching, and the special costumes. But the real turning point? When Sia entered the chat. Maddie's chandelier video catapulted her into mainstream fame, marking the moment Dance Moms became more than a show. It became a launchpad for stardom. Maddie was no longer just Abby's favorite. She was Hollywood's favorite. Of course, this didn't come without backlash. The favoritism sparked endless fights, jealousy, and resentment. But even with the drama, Maddie's performances remained untouchable. She became the gold standard by which all future ALDC dancers were measured. While Maddie was busy collecting crowns, Chloe Lacasiak was quietly building a legacy of her own. Often cast as the underdog, Chloe had to claw her way to the top. Her mom, Christy, was always at war with Abby, who never missed a chance to undermine Chloe's confidence. But that only made Chloe's wins even more satisfying. Remember when she beat Maddie with her Dream on a Star solo? The look on Abby's face? Iconic. That one wasn't just about points. It was a moment of redemption. Chloe's style was more lyrical, more emotional. She wasn't always the flashiest, but she connected with the audience. Her solos like Lucky Star, Black Heart, and Innocent proved she didn't need Abby's praise to shine. Her emotional exit in Season 4 was one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the show, but her return in Season 7A? A moment. Fans were crying. Abby was shaking. The OGs were back and the internet lost its mind. If first impressions were a competition, JoJo Siwa won on site. She entered the ALDC with a bow the size of her ego, glitter-soaked outfits, and a one-liner for every confessional. Abby didn't know what to do with her, but JoJo knew what she was doing. Her solo electricity wasn't technically perfect, but the performance was pure JoJo, loud, colorful, and impossible to ignore. She danced like she had something to prove, and she did. Critics said she was too over the top, but JoJo turned that criticism into a brand. Her clashes with Abby were legendary. "If you yell at me, I'm gonna cry," she said with a straight face. And then she didn't cry. She thrived. JoJo's confidence made her an instant fan favorite, especially among younger viewers. And let's not forget her mom, Jessalyn, who never backed down. Whether she was defending JoJo's wardrobe choices or going head-to-head with Abby, she brought the energy every time. JoJo didn't just join the ALDC, she took it over. Kalani Hilliker didn't need to scream to be noticed. Her elegance, lines, and technical precision spoke volumes. When she joined the ALDC full-time, it was clear A new era had begun. Her solos like Say Something, All That Jazz, and Heartbeat showcased maturity far beyond her years. Abby became obsessed with Kalani's technique, often praising her as the most dancer-like of the group. But Kalani didn't come alone. Her mom, Kira, quickly became a fierce presence. She wasn't afraid to challenge Abby, and her showdowns with other moms were always TV gold. Kalani's duets with Maddie were especially iconic. Two powerhouses sharing the stage created magic and subtle competition. But through it all, Kalani remained composed, earning her spot as one of the most respected ALDC dancers. Some of the most unforgettable moments came when the girls danced together. The ALDC group routines were often intense, theatrical, and emotionally charged. Where Have All the Children Gone still haunts viewers to this day. The eerie music, the dolls, the story. It was peak ALDC. Then came The Last Text, a tribute to texting and driving victims. The emotional weight of the piece brought judges to tears. Amber Alert was controversial, but undeniably gripping. Abby often pushed boundaries with her choreography, and while not every number landed well with audiences, the girls always delivered. Group dances like The Waiting Room, Ghost, and Broken Dolls combined powerful storytelling with breathtaking technique. These routines weren't just performances, they were events. You can't talk about Dance Moms without mentioning the fights. They were as iconic as the dances. Abby versus Kelly? Explosive. Their physical altercation led to lawsuits and a viral clip that's still passed around TikTok like a cultural artifact. Christy versus Abby was a weekly occurrence. Their shouting matches were so frequent, the sound of Christy saying, "Don't talk about my daughter," should be a ringtone. Holly, usually the voice of reason, had her own standout moment when she unleashed, "You will not speak to me that way." Instant meme. Even the producers got caught in the chaos. The fourth wall was shattered more than once, reminding us all that behind every perfect pirouette was a crew scrambling to keep the peace. Save your tears for your pillow. Abby's delivery? Ice cold. JoJo's "I'm Too Pretty to Fight" became a rallying cry for confident girls everywhere. Melissa's "I don't want to be in the middle of this," followed by her jumping into drama anyway? Classic. And then there's Kathy from the Candy Apples with her constant digs. "I'd rather have my kid coached by a mailman than Abby Lee." The confessionals were a goldmine of drama, shade, and meme-worthy lines that fans still quote years later. Maddie Ziegler is now an actress, a fashion icon, and a regular at Paris Fashion Week. Jojo Siwa has her own empire, TV shows, concerts, merchandise, and even a DWTS run. Chloe Lacasiak is a college student, an advocate, and a social media influencer with millions of fans. Kalani Kendall and Nia have built solid followings and continued careers in dance, modeling, and entertainment. As for Abby, her controversial exit from the show, legal issues, and attempts at a comeback remain a complicated part of the show's legacy. But no matter where they ended up, the impact of their time at ALDC continues to echo through the fandom. Years later, people are still posting edits of the ALDC girls on TikTok. The dances, the fights, the backstage tears, they all live on. Dance Moms wasn't just a TV show. It was a cultural juggernaut. It made stars, it made headlines, and it made memories that millions of fans still cherish. These iconic moments aren't just nostalgia, they're legend. And as the reunion rolls out, it's clear, the ALDC may have shut its doors, but its legacy? That's forever. Just when you thought we'd covered all the iconic ALDC moments, think again. Because behind every episode of Dance Moms is another jaw-dropping solo, another tearful confessional, and another dance that rewrote the rules. This is part 2 of the most unforgettable, replayed, meme-worthy moments from the Abby Lee Dance Company. The drama, the talent, the tears, and the triumphs. Whether you were hashtag Team Chloe or hashtag Team Maddie, obsessed with JoJo's bows or living for Nia's comebacks, this next round of ALDC memories is packed with the chaos and choreography that made reality TV history. Let's talk about the Queen of Perseverance, Nia Su. For years, Abby overlooked her, criticized her technique, and gave her the least exciting routines. But Nia stayed graceful, even under pressure, and eventually, she turned the narrative in her favor. Her breakout moment? Goodbye, Maya. A stunning tribute solo to Maya Angelou that finally let Nia tap into her emotional side, and fans felt it. Holly wept. The moms cheered. Abby begrudgingly nodded. From being the underdog to becoming a fan favorite, Nia's transformation was slow burn brilliance. And her iconic "I know I can be a star" moment? That wasn't just a line. It was a promise. And she delivered. Kendall Veritz had one of the most unpredictable journeys at the ALDC. One week she was on top with a killer solo like "Welcome to My Life." The next she was being benched by Abby. Her mom Jill fought hard for her daughter's spotlight, sometimes too hard. Let's not forget the fashion evolution of Jill. From feather boas to fur vests, Jill was the unofficial drama queen of the viewing gallery. But when Kendall shined, she shined. Her duet with Kalani, "Scary Sweetheart," was electric. Despite the highs and lows, Kendall stuck it out longer than most. She proved she wasn't just a pretty face. She had the skill and determination to match. Who could forget Abby's wild weekly assignments? She'd throw curveballs like "Dance blindfolded" or "You have 20 minutes to learn this." And the pressure? Off the charts. One of the most infamous? The Crybabies solo showdown between Maddie and Kendall. Or the time she made Nia perform a Bollywood routine with zero preparation and zero cultural sensitivity. Sometimes the challenges were genius. Other times, downright chaotic. But through it all, the girls managed to pull off miracles and make TV gold in the process. When Abby introduced the minis, the fandom exploded. Tiny dancers like Liliana Ketchman and Eliana Walmsley came in swinging, technically polished and ready to fight. Their routines like "Step by Step" and "Freak Show" left audiences stunned. These kids weren't just cute, they were competitive. But it was the moms who really brought the drama. Between yelling matches and accusations of favoritism, the mini-moms quickly became the new villains. But the minis themselves? Some of the most impressive talent the show ever had. When moms left the ALDC, it was never quiet. Whether it was Kelly dragging her kids out mid-fight or Christy saying "We're done," these walkouts were more than dramatic. They were devastating. Fans still remember the tension when Holly, Nia, and the rest of the elite team packed up and started their own studio. It was mutiny. And it was epic. Each exit sent shockwaves through the team and viewers alike. But as much as Abby wanted to act unbothered, those departures hit hard and changed the team forever. From screaming at producers to storming out mid-competition, Abby's temper was as famous as her pyramid. One unforgettable moment. When Abby ditched the team mid-trip in Australia. Or when she had a full-on meltdown after Maddie left for Sia's tour, sobbing into a pillow like the world had ended. These meltdowns weren't just about drama. They were windows into the pressure cooker environment Abby had created. And whether you loved her or hated her, there's no denying, Abby was compelling TV. Just when things got stale, the OGs came back, and the fandom rejoiced. Seeing Chloe, Nia, and Kendall reunite in Season 7A was the stuff of reality TV dreams. The chemistry, the flashbacks, the unfinished business. It was a reunion that brought tears and ratings. Their return proved something vital. The heart of Dance Moms was always those original girls. No matter how many new dancers joined, the OGs had a legacy that couldn't be replaced. Some of the most beautiful and brutal moments came from the duets. These weren't just dances, they were showdowns. Each duet brought tension, artistry, and drama. Whether it was about proving themselves or making a statement, these pairings always had something to say. Years after the finale, Dance Moms still dominates TikTok, YouTube, and pop culture. Edits of solos go viral. Behind the scenes tea resurfaces. And fans still argue about who was the best. Why? Because the ALDC wasn't just a studio. It was a phenomenon. It launched careers, sparked debates, and gave us a decade's worth of drama. And with reunions, retrospectives, and reboot rumors still swirling, one thing's clear. The legacy of Abby Lee and her iconic dancers is far from over. Stay tuned for Part 3. Because the most iconic moments? We're still just scratching the surface. Some TV shows fade after a few seasons. Dance Moms did the opposite. It became an era. The ALDC girls didn't just dance. They sparked debates, created trends, and influenced a generation of young performers. With the reunion now here to relive it all, it's time to rewind even further and highlight the ALDC's most unforgettable Part 2 moments. From costume controversies to iconic comebacks, this continuation digs even deeper into the moments that live rent-free in every fan's mind. She wasn't the flashiest dancer, and Abby made sure to remind her of that. But when Paige Hyland had her moment, she sparkled. Her Make Some Noise solo? Crowd favorite. Her duet with Chloe, Twilight, was filled with emotion, bonding, and dare we say it, underrated brilliance. But behind the sparkle was pressure. Abby's expectations constantly shifted, and Kelly Paige's mom wasn't having it. The infamous chair-throwing fight wasn't just drama for the cameras, it was a boiling point. Paige, often treated as an afterthought, became the center of a full-blown meltdown that would go down in Dance Moms history. Fans still rally behind Paige. She became the face of the forgotten talent, the girl who never got a fair shot, yet managed to make us remember her anyway. From the very first season, Nia Su was often underestimated. Abby critiqued her technique, overlooked her strengths, and handed out solos that felt more like challenges than opportunities. But Nia didn't just endure, she grew. Her Lakifa solo remains one of the most controversial routines ever aired. But instead of falling apart, Nia and her mom Holly stood tall. Holly challenged Abby with grace, intellect, and an iron will. When she said, "You will not disrespect me," it wasn't just a quote, it was a mission statement. Nia's later solos like Goodbye Maya and No Matter What were breathtaking. She may not have been Abby's favorite, but she was always the fan's heart. Few dancers had a journey as up and down as Kendall Verts. Initially brought in as a replacement, Kendall had to fight for every inch of recognition. Jill, her ever-bold mom, made sure her daughter stayed in the spotlight, sometimes to Kendall's dismay. There were missteps, forgotten choreography, tears, but there were also breakthroughs. Welcome to My Life showcased her growth. All Eyes on Me was a turning point. Kendall wasn't perfect, but she was persistent. And by the time season 6 rolled around, Kendall was a cornerstone of the ALDC. Oh, Kathy. The Candy Apples Dance Center wasn't just a rival studio. It was a full-blown menace. Kathy's tactics ranged from shady to savage. She poached dancers, mimicked ALDC routines, and clapped back harder than anyone else on the show. Her feud with Abby was the stuff of reality TV legend. Who could forget the apple-throwing moment? Or the time she brought in Anthony Burrell to really rattle Abby's cage. Even her dancers, like Vivienne and Justice, became mini icons in their own right. Kathy may have been the villain, but she was a necessary one. Every hero needs a worthy adversary. Love her or hate her, Abby Lee Miller was the show. Her intense choreography, her favoritism, her breakdowns, she was the sun the ALDC revolved around. She had moments of brilliance, choreographing the last text, or pushing Maddie into artistic greatness. But she also had epic fails. The whole replacing the team with Minnie's saga? Disaster. Her relationships with the moms, especially Kelly, Christy, and Holly, were ticking time bombs. Yet her presence was magnetic. Even when the moms hated her, they kept coming back. And Abby's one-liners? Reality's TV gold. Second is the first to lose. Everyone's replaceable. Save your tears for your pillow. The reunion reminded fans that Abby's role was never simple. She built stars, but often at a price. Season 4 was one of the show's most chaotic chapters. It was the season of betrayal, breakdowns, and blow-ups. Chloe left. Kelly was gone. The team fractured. But in that chaos, the girls delivered some of their strongest work. The beautiful bizarre group number was haunting and flawless. Kalani's arrival helped stabilize the team, even as drama flared between the moms. This season reminded fans that Dance Moms wasn't just about who won or lost. It was about surviving the environment. Duets were where chemistry and choreography collided. Maddie and Chloe's Inside of Me? Instant classic. Nia and Kendall's The Medium was a dramatic highlight. Kalani and Maddie's Pretty Little Liars was as slick as it was haunting. These moments gave fans something special. Proof that even with the chaos, the dancing spoke louder. One of the most powerful things about Dance Moms is the fan culture. Fans weren't just watching. They were analyzing, memeing, defending. Tumblr, Instagram edits, TikTok tributes. These girls became digital icons. JoJo's bow became a branding empire. Maddie's cry solo spawned 1,000 reaction videos. Chloe's departure inspired fan campaigns and think pieces. By the time the reunion rolled around, it wasn't just about reliving the drama. It was about fans finally getting the closure they'd waited years for. The ALDC was more than a studio. It was a stage for dreams, disaster, and destiny. These girls grew up in front of our eyes. They cried, they fought, they won. And through it all, they danced. Part 2 of this compilation proves one thing. Even when the show ends, the legacy lives on. Because for Dance Moms fans, these moments weren't just entertainment. They were everything. And if the reunion taught us anything, it's this. The ALDC may be gone, but its story is still being told, one viral clip at a time. Love her or hate her, Abby Lee Miller was the ALDC. Her strict teaching style, ruthless honesty, and obsession with winning shaped the team, and sometimes tore it apart. There were times Abby's tactics pushed the dancers to greatness, but other times her power trips were too much. Remember the pyramid? The weekly ceremony of praise or public humiliation. It wasn't just a ranking, it was a spectacle. Dancers dreaded being at the bottom, and moms dreaded what that meant for their kids' mental state. Then there were the sudden casting changes. Abby had no problem cutting dancers from routines or bumping them for a newer favorite. Kendall being yanked from routines. Paige being sidelined. Even Maddie faced Abby's wrath if she didn't perform to perfection. It was Abby's world. They were just dancing in it. But despite the chaos, there's no denying Abby knew how to get results. Her dancers won national titles, performed on massive stages, and became household names. Her tough love style made headlines and unforgettable television. In season 6, just when viewers thought they'd seen it all, Abby introduced the minis. A new generation of dancers, tinier and feistier, came in to inspire the older girls or replace them, depending on who you asked. Mini dancers like Liliana Ketchman and Eliana Walmsley brought fresh talent and insane flexibility. Their solos were jaw-dropping, even compared to the seasoned OGs. But their presence sparked instant tension. The older girls felt threatened. The moms were livid. "We built this team," they argued. And just like that, the ALDC became a pressure cooker again, with even more combustibility. The infamous Liliana versus Eliana rivalry became one of the most iconic mini showdowns. Their technical skills were next level, but it was their moms, Stacy and Yolanda, who stole the show with their backstage brawls. Few exits hit as hard as when Brooke and Paige Highland left the ALDC. The tension had been building for years, Abby constantly criticizing Brooke for her lack of passion and Paige for her nervous energy. Kelly, their mom, was never one to back down. She argued. She fought. She tried to shield her daughters from Abby's harshness. But everything exploded in season 4 during a now infamous altercation between Abby and Kelly that ended in shoving, screaming, and security stepping in. After that, the Highlands were gone. Fans were devastated. The show lost 2 of its original stars and a major source of drama. But their departure only solidified their status as ALDC legends. Paige's quiet strength and Brooke's attempt to balance dance and music made them relatable. Their goodbye wasn't just emotional, it was iconic. Nia Sue never had it easy at the ALDC. She wasn't Abby's favorite. She didn't get the best choreography. She was often overlooked. But Nia had something the others didn't: resilience. She kept going. She took the crumbs and turned them into full-course meals. When Abby said she didn't have the right look or style, Nia proved her wrong with solos like Goodbye Maya and No Matter What. Holly, Nia's mom, was a force of her own. Calm, educated, and articulate, Holly became the moral compass of the moms. She stood up to Abby without stooping to her level. Nia's transformation from underdog to breakout star was slow, steady, and satisfying. She later released music, starred in web series, and built a loyal fanbase. Her iconic line, "You can take the dancer out of the ALDC, but you can't take the ALDC out of the dancer," was the perfect summary of her journey. When Chloe returned in season 7, It sent shockwaves through the fanbase. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. Abby had always said the team couldn't function without her, but Chloe's return proved otherwise. She wasn't alone either. Along with Chloe came other returning faves like Nia, Kalani, and Kendall, forming the Irreplaceables. They weren't just rebelling against Abby, they were starting over. New choreographers, new styles, and new cities. Their group dances had a different energy, raw, passionate, unfiltered. Watching the Irreplaceables bond and support each other felt like healing. It was everything fans had wanted. The girls reclaiming their power and artistry, away from Abby's control. The moment Chloe stepped back into that studio, pure chills. It wasn't just the dancers who delivered drama. The moms were iconic in their own right. Jill's fashion, Christy's wit, Kelly's fire, Holly's wisdom, and Jesselyn's attitude. They all brought something to the table. Their fights were legendary. Who could forget the time Jill threw her shoe? Or when Christy stormed out mid-episode, only to return with an even bigger comeback line. The mom dynamics were constantly shifting. Besties one week, enemies the next. But no matter the feud, they all shared one goal, protecting their daughters while chasing the spotlight. Their confessionals were often more entertaining than the dances. And while some of their drama seemed exaggerated, a lot of it was very, very real. Kendall wasn't a breakout sensation like Maddie or JoJo, but her rise was one of the most rewarding to watch. She started shy, often struggling to keep up. But over time, Kendall found her groove. Her solo All Eyes on Me became a turning point, showcasing confidence, maturity, and technique. Her partnership with Kalani helped elevate her presence. And her music career outside the show, complete with music videos and live performances, gave her an edge that fans loved. Jill, her mom, was one of the show's most iconic personalities. From fur vests to power moves, Jill gave us everything. And Kendall? She stayed grounded, focused, and fiercely loyal. Her growth over the seasons wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Kendall became proof that patience and perseverance pay off. The final episodes of Dance Moms felt like the end of an era. Abby's departure, the OGs moving on, and the studio losing its spark. Fans felt it all. The final group dances were more than just routines. They were goodbyes. Champions, free at last, and Together We Stand were love letters to a journey filled with ups and downs. Abby's last pyramid. The mom's final walkout. The bittersweet hugs. It was the closing chapter fans didn't want, but knew was coming. Still, the legacy lives on. Edits, TikToks, interviews, and reunions keep the ALDC spirit alive. The impact of Dance Moms? Unmatched. The ALDC moments weren't perfect. They were messy, emotional, and often controversial. But that's what made them unforgettable. From Maddie's tears to JoJo's glitter bows, from Abby's screams to Chloe's quiet power, every second was part of a legacy that changed the face of reality TV. And as fans continue to quote, rewatch, and relive those iconic moments, one thing is clear: Dance Moms isn't just a show. It's a phenomenon. And the ALDC? Iconic forever. By the time Dance Moms hit its later seasons, the iconic moments weren't just about solos or showdowns. They were full-blown cultural milestones. Fans didn't just watch episodes. They studied them, lived them, and turned every backstage blow-up into a viral moment. This next deep dive into the ALDC's most unforgettable events continues to unpack the drama, dedication, and dance that turned Pittsburgh's most chaotic dance studio into reality TV royalty. Let's rewind the tape and relive even more moments that made jaws drop, fans cheer, and Abby scream. Underscore 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 underscore. Part 1: Nia's breakout. From underdog to queen bee. Nia Su's journey at the ALDC was one of resilience, growth, and pure heart. For seasons, she was overlooked and underestimated. Abby often questioned her technique, choreography, and versatility, and yet Nia showed up. Every single time. Her early solos like The Color Purple and Working Girl proved she had star power, even if Abby didn't always see it. Holly, her mom, never stayed silent when Abby tried to push Nia aside. She was the ultimate momager meets educator, defending her daughter with grace and receipts. But Nia's true breakthrough came when she reinvented herself as a pop star. With the help of outside producers, which Abby hated, Nia dropped her music video for Star in Your Own Life, and fans lost it. The ALDC girls supported her, but Abby? She was fuming. Nia showed the world that she didn't need Abby's validation to shine. Her transformation from backup dancer to breakout star was iconic. Part 2: Kendall's Tears, Triumphs, and Tumultuous Journey. Kendall Verts joined the ALDC with a bang, and quickly became a lightning rod for drama. Her solos ranged from sassy jazz numbers to emotional lyrical pieces like All Eyes on Me and Where Have You Been? But it wasn't always a smooth ride. Abby's hot and cold treatment of Kendall left her constantly trying to prove herself. One week she was the star, the next she was on probation. Jill, her mom, did everything she could to keep Kendall in Abby's good graces, cue leopard print outfits and backstage bribes. Kendall's most memorable moment? Probably the showdown with Abby over her music career. Like Nia, she wanted to branch out. Her single Wear 'Em Out became a hit, but Abby accused Jill of being disloyal. Through it all, Kendall remained composed, most of the time. Her growth as a dancer and performer, despite the emotional roller coaster, proved she was more than just the girl who cries. Part 3: Abby's most unhinged moments, and there are many. Let's be real, Abby Lee Miller was the chaos engine that drove the show. Her meltdowns, insults, walkouts, and threats were almost as famous as the dances themselves. One unforgettable moment: the infamous pyramid meltdown when Abby tore up photos and screamed at the moms for questioning her decisions. Another? The trash comment to Brooke, which led to Kelly's explosive response, and eventually the slap that sent shockwaves through the reality TV world. Abby walking out mid-rehearsal, locking herself in rooms, crying in bathrooms, or randomly bringing in replacements like a dance villain with an endless Rolodex. It was all part of her brand. She was harsh, yes, but she also built stars. And in the most twisted way, fans were addicted to the spectacle. Part 4: Paige and Brooke Hyland's exit, a shocking blow. Brooke and Paige were OG ALDC girls who'd grown up in Abby's world. But as they hit their teen years, the cracks in their relationship with Abby widened. Brooke struggled with balancing her love for music with Abby's dance demands. Paige was constantly ridiculed, her confidence slowly chipped away by brutal critiques. The tipping point came during season 4, when Kelly finally had enough. The physical altercation with Abby ended with Brooke and Paige being pulled from the team permanently. The fallout? Lawsuits, tabloid headlines, and a devastated fanbase. Their exit marked the end of an era. And though they were gone, their absence left a hole that no new team could ever truly fill. When Abby introduced the mini-team, it was like throwing a match into gasoline. Younger dancers meant higher stakes for the OGs, and the moms were not having it. Liliana Ketchman, aka Lily K, quickly became a standout. Her technical ability, flexibility, and stage presence were undeniable. But so were the rivalries she sparked. Aliona Walmsley joined the chaos, and suddenly we had a mini version of Maddie versus Chloe playing out all over again. The mini moms were fierce, loud, and ready to rumble. The generational clash between the OG moms and the newbies made for TV gold. But it also fractured the ALDC's foundation. Abby's plan to replace her legacy team with younger dancers backfired. Instead of rebuilding, she created chaos, and fans were living for it. Remember when Kathy brought in the Entourage boys? Or when Asia Monet Ray made a comeback and nearly danced everyone off the stage? These surprise appearances became iconic because they were so unexpected. One minute, Abby was yelling at her team for losing, and the next, boom, a rival appeared with a vengeance. Asia's return to perform rock that was jaw-dropping. Her sass, power, and command of the stage made it clear she didn't come to play. And who could forget the cameo from Mackenzie's alter ego, Maxie? Her music career took off while she was still in pigtails, and fans went wild for her viral hits. These wild cards kept the show fresh and constantly reminded viewers that anyone could pop up and steal the spotlight. Maddie Ziegler's departure in Season 6 was emotional for the team, the fans, and even Abby. Her final solo, The Hostage, was a haunting, raw performance that felt like a goodbye letter. Every movement screamed maturity and heartbreak. Abby, for once, was visibly shaken. She knew she was losing her star, the dancer she'd built her entire reputation around. The final hug between Maddie and her teammates was a tearjerker, and the moment she stepped off that stage, a chapter in Dance Mom's history closed for good. After years of emotional warfare, Nia, Kendall, Kalani, and Chloe had enough. In Season 7B, they walked away from the ALDC and formed their own squad, the Irreplaceables. With Cheryl Burke as their new coach, the girls embraced independence, freedom, and a new kind of team unity. Their performances became bolder. Their message? Clear: we are more than Abby Lee Miller's puppets. The fans rallied behind them. Edits flooded TikTok. Hashtags trended. This rebellion wasn't just iconic. It was a revolution. The ALDC may have changed over the years, but its legacy is untouchable. From viral dances to bitter rivalries, the show left behind a treasure trove of unforgettable moments. And the best part? We're still talking about them. Part 4 was just the beginning. Stick around for even more flashbacks, fallout, and fierce performances as the Dance Moms reunion series continues to crown the most iconic moments in ALDC history. Because if there's one thing we know, it's this: legends never leave the stage. They just take a final bow and come back for an encore. If you thought the last 4 parts captured every iconic ALDC moment, think again. The Dance Moms universe is a bottomless pit of drama, excellence, and chaos, and just when you think you've seen it all, Abby throws another curveball, or a mom flips a table, or a dancer pulls off a routine so flawless it makes your jaw drop. Part 5 picks up where the drama left off, diving deeper into the explosive, emotional, and unforgettable moments that cemented the ALDC's place in reality TV history. Grab your glitter, adjust your pyramid, and brace yourself. JoJo Siwa didn't just join the ALDC, she stormed in. With neon outfits, oversized bows, and a confidence that couldn't be dimmed, JoJo instantly polarized the team and the fans. Abby was skeptical at first, often criticizing JoJo's over-the-top style and immature energy. But JoJo didn't back down. Her solo electricity shocked everyone, not just because it was sharp and precise, but because it was pure JoJo. She was unapologetically herself, and the judges loved it. Of course, clashes came with the territory. JoJo's mom, Jessalyn, wasn't afraid to throw down with the OG moms, defending her daughter with the energy of a mama bear who's also a rhinestone bedazzler. From underdog to pop culture phenomenon, JoJo's time at the ALDC was a rocket launch. She didn't just dance, she branded. And in Abby's world, that's both a blessing and a threat. The reunion specials weren't just awkward couch sessions. They were full-blown war zones. Abby facing off against the moms, often with a host desperately trying to keep the peace. Yes, please. Whether it was Christy calling out Abby for favoritism, or Holly calmly dismantling Abby's arguments with educator-level precision, these confrontations were legendary. Top reunion moments include a Christy walking out again, after Abby said Chloe lacked the it factor. A Kelly's reunion return after the slap, where the air was so thick with tension you could slice it with a stiletto. A Holly's now iconic line, "You can't handle the truth, Abby." These weren't just arguments. They were battles for legacy. and the fans had front row seats. When Kalani first arrived as a guest on the team, she was already a standout. Poised, elegant, and insanely technical, Kalani quickly won Abby's approval, and that of the viewers. But her journey wasn't without hurdles. She often felt the pressure of being compared to Maddie, especially once Maddie exited and Abby needed a new go-to girl. Kalani delivered unforgettable solos like Pretty Little Liar and Say Something, dripping in emotion and maturity. She became known for her control, fluidity, and quiet strength. Her bond with Kira, her no-nonsense mom, brought some of the show's most underrated but solid moments. Kira didn't always scream the loudest, but when she did, the studio shook. Kalani wasn't just a replacement. She carved her own lane and became a pillar of the team. Behind the scenes, Abby Lee Miller was facing serious legal issues, and eventually, those troubles bled into the show. The most jarring moment? Abby breaking down in front of the girls during season 6, sobbing over the possibility of going to jail. The tough-as-nails coach suddenly became vulnerable, and the dancers were left stunned. As news of her fraud charges and upcoming sentencing dominated headlines, the ALDC tried to keep dancing. But the stress was visible. Abby grew more erratic, missing rehearsals, lashing out at moms, and eventually walking out for good in season 7. Her exit scene? A tearful departure where she claimed, "No one stood up for me." Reality TV had never felt more real. Just when you thought it was safe to dance in peace, Kathy from Candy Apple's Dance Center popped back in, this time with a vengeance. Armed with male dancers, guest choreographers, and her signature smirk, Kathy came back to challenge Abby head-on. Her new star recruit, Nakia Wiley, brought both technique and drama. The duels between ALDC and SADC were some of the show's most intense. The infamous beef jerky fight where Abby and Kathy hurled insults in the parking lot. Kathy bringing in choreographer Anthony, whose beef with Abby boiled over into full-blown shouting matches. The unexpected win that left Abby fuming and Kathy cackling. Say what you want, but Kathy knew how to stir the pot and win trophies. After her emotional exit in season 4, Chloe Lacasiak came back in season 7, and fans lost it. Her return was teased for weeks, and when she finally walked through that door, the screams from the studio were only rivaled by the cheers across social media. Chloe wasn't the same girl who left in tears. She returned stronger, more self-assured, and ready to dance her truth. Her solo return to the garden was more than a performance. It was a statement. Her mom, Christy, immediately reignited old tensions with Abby, though Abby tried to downplay it, and the team had to adjust to having their original underdog back in the mix. It was emotional. It was symbolic. And it was exactly what fans had waited for. ALDC's legacy isn't just drama, it's dance. And some solos were so powerful, they're still replayed today. Iconic solos include Maddie's Angel, an emotional tribute that brought judges to tears. Ania's Goodbye Maya, her tribute to Maya Angelou, filled with dignity and power. Kalani's Fragile Forest, technical perfection. Jojo's Prom Queen, full of attitude, message, and presence. Chloe's Dream on a Star, the perfect blend of elegance and story. These solos weren't just about scoring points. They were moments of catharsis, growth, and absolute artistry. Yes, the infamous pyramid. Each week, Abby unveiled it like the opening of Pandora's box, except instead of evil spirits, out came emotional trauma. The pyramid became a symbol of Abby's power and her pettiness. A dancer could have delivered a flawless routine and still end up on the bottom for something unrelated, like their mom questioning Abby. Top pyramid moments. Mackenzie sobbing when she landed on the bottom after winning. Abby putting Brooke's photo upside down. Savage. The time Abby just skipped the pyramid altogether. Pure chaos. It was manipulative. It was dramatic. It was classic Abby Lee Miller. The ALDC saga isn't just reality TV. It's a cultural blueprint for what happens when talent, ambition, and insanity collide. Every bow flip, pyramid reveal, and courtroom cliffhanger added another layer to the legacy. And with every new generation discovering Dance Moms, the moments keep living on. Stay tuned for part 6, Because we're still not done peeling back the glittery layers of dance's most dramatic dynasty. Because of the ALDC, the spotlight never fades.